Friends, family, brothers, sisters, comparison is the thief of all joy. Why are we always looking at other people and comparing them to us? Why are we always looking at other people and wanting their life when some people out there want our lives? We just have to be grateful.
Wait. Hold on. I'll let you finish that thought, but I also just wanted to preface, guys, saying the only person you should be comparing yourself to is your former self. If you're looking back at your former self from a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, that comparison you're able to learn from. When you start comparing yourself to other people, you don't know what stage of life they're on. Just because you think that they are showcasing this glamorized lifestyle, they have it all figured out, you may not know the struggles that they went through. And you may not know if that's actually what it is, if they actually do have it figured out. So in trying to understand and trying to compare yourself to others, you're self-depreciating, you're self-defeating yourself because you're limiting yourself from actually understanding what you're capable of and trying to compare your level 1 to their level 20, level 50, level 100, you know?
Yeah. And here's the thing, you don't know what they've been through, right? You don't know what they sacrificed to get to where they are right now. And you don't know their journey, their path forward. And think to yourself, I want this type of success. I want this person's lifestyle. But are you willing to give up? Are you willing to sacrifice what they sacrificed to get what you want?
I like how you brought up sacrifice, because the sacrifice is a big thing. Many people aren't willing to be able to acknowledge that in the strive for whatever process you want to become great in, to be exceptional at, to be able to push the boundaries of your own limits, you have to make sacrifices, whether it's time, whether it's financial, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. You also maybe even social. You may have to cut off some friends. Like, the amount of sacrifice it takes to be able to achieve your goals is mind-breaking. Some people severely underestimate it.
It's different for everyone, but it's just, what are you willing to give up versus what do you want, right? Obviously, the higher the price, the more you gotta sacrifice, right? And it's just, are you willing to give up your current lifestyle for the lifestyle that you want? Are you willing to give up your level of comfort right now for the hardships that you'll endure to the life that you want?
And the thing is, like, unfortunately, it's not an equal 1-to-1 ratio. You could be sacrificing as far little as, like you said before, we're making comparisons to others. You see someone else, you're like, they didn't even have to go through that much hardship and they're getting exponential amount of growth. Yeah. But then, like, and then you start reflecting back on yourself and, like, you try playing the victim, being like, oh, I sacrificed so much, I lost this much, and I don't have the same results. No one cares. It doesn't matter. It's not even about what you think you sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice regardless. And like I said before, even if you don't think someone has sacrificed as much as they are led on to believe, or that you're led on to believe, you do not know the whole story. So the only premise of focusing on comparing yourself from your previous self is the main aspect to be able to grow and truly achieve what goals you want to accomplish.
And here's the thing, the only thing you can control is yourself. You can't control other people. You can't control whether they succeed or fail, right? The only thing you can control is yourself. So why are we gonna put our standards to someone else? Why are we gonna put our standards to something that honestly we don't even have any control over, right? Because the only person we control is ourselves, right? We can control how much push-ups we do today. We can control how much videos we make. We can control how much practice we put in, hours we put in today, tomorrow, the next year. But you can't control what the next person is going to do. You can't control who you look up to, what they're going to do in the future, right?
Because the aspect of control, you have the ability to control your future and your destiny. If you don't think you can do it, you're right, you can't. But if you genuinely believe you can take the actions and the steps to be able to make the changes to propel yourself forward. It's not only a mindset shift, but it's also a vision shift. If you're able to shift and control how you think of certain scenarios, if you think you encounter one obstacle, you think it's the end of the road, you're right, it's the end of the road for you. But if you actually think, okay, with this obstacle, it may have knocked me down, but now I know how to encounter that and conquer it for next time. And now I can use this to propel myself forward.
It's all a mental game. Honestly, it's all a mental game. Whether you think you can do it or not, you are right. If you think you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can't, you can't. Right? It's honestly all a mental game. nothing, sure there might be circumstances, sure there might be situations where it's harder, you're more limited. But whether you decide to overcome those, whether you decide to climb those mountains, overcome those obstacles and barriers, it's up to you, honestly, how willing you are to get what you want.
But it's like also in that instance too, like the limits you think are your limits, you set those. There's only a certain amount of extremes that are actually your limits. There's only, like, obviously there's actually physical limitations of how far you can push yourself, but your mental limits, it's what you actually understand and deem that's my mental limit. But even then you underestimate it. So that's why I also want to tie in having other people around you, not even as a support system, but just as a way to keep you in check and keep you accountable, because what you think you could achieve mentally, be like, I'm exhausted, I've been working X amount of hours, I'm mentally exhausted. And all it takes is one person to be like, wait, but did you look at it from this perspective? And then now you're back to thinking in a different way. So now you weren't actually physically exhausted, you just thought that was what you were actually capable of.
Also, comparison, you can use comparison in a good way. The way I like to use comparison is, it's hard to not compare yourself to other people when you're especially down in the dumps, looking at other people's success and everything, how good of a life they have it versus you. But if you shift your mindset to look at them and view them as something you aspire to be, view them as a standard that you have to hit, right? Looking at their habits, looking at what they do on a daily basis, and then looking at yourself, do I possess what it takes to be where they are? Am I putting in the reps? Am I putting in the hours? Am I sacrificing to be where they are? Right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Because if you have someone as like a foundation, if you view them as a cornerstone of who you want to replicate or emulate, then it makes it somewhat easier that you somewhat have the ability to see not necessarily the full scope of how they're able to reach that success, but you see the background, you see the amount of work, the preparation that goes into it. And not only do you acknowledge it, you respect it. So you're like, if this person is able to stay accountable, why can't I? They're no different than I. They say they bleed the same as me. Like, we're both human. Like, it doesn't matter. You have that fundamental respect, and that pushes you. Like you said, it gives you that drive where you're like, all right, now it's a competition, but it's a friendly competition. It keeps both of you guys motivated, so you're able to continue pushing and excelling with each other.
Yeah. It's all limiting belief. Everything you think you're tired, okay, you might actually be tired, but everything is a limiting belief. Whether you think you can or you can't, like I said, you're right. That's why you gotta surround yourself with like-minded individuals. That's why you gotta surround yourself with people who are going in the same direction as you. You can't surround yourself with people who are not going to aspire you to be better, right? Imagine I'm someone who trying to start a business, but I surround myself with 9 to 5 employees 24/7. That's all I hang around with, that's all I go out with, that's all I talk to, that's all I text, call. Do you know how demoralizing that is? Do you know how outcasted you feel? Because you feel like you are different compared to everyone else, because you can't relate to them, because you feel like you don't know what to say because they can't relate to you, right? And although it is hard to find your group, and it does take some time, there will be a period where people will come, people will go, not everyone will stay. But it's also the journey that you have to enjoy. The journey, the process that you have to explore, because getting to the end destination doesn't mean anything if you have no story, if you have no experience to tell.
Like you said, that process of finding yourself and trying to mend between two different friend groups, it's hard. It's inevitably going to happen when you're in a transitionary period where you actually understand, like, no, I'm destined for something far greater. And even though, like, my friends may laugh at it, they may not currently understand, or they're content with where they are, you have to be able and be comfortable distancing yourself. I'm not gonna lie, this process and strive for success, it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna be faced with a lonely chapter many times than you can count. But it's like, you also have to be content with that, because you're gonna go into that with that initial understanding that majority of the time you're gonna be alone in this. You may have actual supporters from family and friends, but you still have to have that mindset where it's like, worst comes to worst, I'm in this for myself, and I'm in this that I know I will be able to push through regardless of the naysayers, regardless of the people doubting me, regardless of whatever, even the limitations I put on myself from the input of others. You have the ability to do this.
Here's the truth. You have to believe in yourself even if no one believes in you. Your belief in yourself matters the most. It doesn't matter if you have 2 people supporting you. It doesn't matter if you have 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 people supporting you. If you don't believe in yourself, everyone else's opinions doesn't matter. Because it's your actions at the end of the day. It's your belief, it's your dream, it's your desire. You can have all the supporters, but if you're not going after what you want, if you don't believe you can do it, all that noise just means nothing.
Genuinely, because like, take it in. For all you viewers out there, you guys all have dreams. You guys all have an innate desire to be great. We can all tell because you guys are literally watching this video. It's something sparked your interest, or like, these guys are saying something that resonates to some part within me that gives me a bit of confidence. It's like those times where you're in the middle of the night and you just get random spurts of motivation. You're like,
yeah.
these guys got me amped. I'm gonna go do push-ups, bro. I'm gonna get my life together. Then the next day you're just like, yeah, I'm tired, man. Yo, maybe another day. That's another thing that we'll tie into later on, the aspect of discipline, and that you can't rely on those random spurts of motivation. You actually have to acknowledge that, the motivation will fade. But you also have to stay consistent. If you're only motivated to do your business on some days, you genuinely think you will do well? No, like, it doesn't make sense.
You have to you have to be happy with who you're becoming. Although it's uncomfortable, 100% it's uncomfortable. You're going through things for the first time, you're failing a lot, you're meeting a bunch of new people, figuring out different friend groups, you're losing some friends. You're shedding your old identity, right? People might not like that because they know you for a certain person. Now they might know you might be changing and you might be liking different things. Your values don't align. People will leave, right? It's just a matter of human interaction, right? Human nature. Like, people flock to people who are like them. So it's not only the journey will be hard, but it's definitely, you have to know that although it is a lonely journey, that finding joy in what you do, discovering who you are and liking who you're becoming is the ultimate goal besides reaching your destination. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you succeed, it doesn't matter if you fail terribly. I might start a business the next day. I might fail completely, but do I like who I become? Do I have more knowledge? Do I have more skills? Do I have more wisdom after achieving or failing?
I like that point that you mentioned before, where it's like other people have this idea of you. Everybody has their own perception and how you're supposed to act in certain scenarios and how you're supposed to be. And then anytime you start deviating from that, they're like, hold on, is this the same person? Like, wait, I never knew this guy was interested in starting his own business. I thought this guy's just a regular guy like me. I thought we just like the same things and like we have the same hobbies. And now all of a sudden he wants to be Mr. Beast. He wants to be whatever. He wants to be Jeff Bezos. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then you still have to shift away from like other people's idea of you is different from how you see yourself.
Facts.
Everybody has their own idea of how each of us interact, but it's how different from what we actually see in ourselves. And what you genuinely believe in yourself as who you are, you have to stick by that. And then you have to show people. You don't even have to show people that's the real you. They just have to deal with it whether they like it or not. That's the one thing.
I like what you said about people having to deal with who you are, whether or not. But it's also, if you think about it this way as well, I used to work a sales job, and my boss or my mentor used to always tell me, all the no's that you get are just more opportunities for people to say yes. The more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. Sure, you might lose Michael, Jared, Andrew, whoever, but you're opening room for Tommy, Jaden, Henry, right? And it's also the fact that the more authentic you become, the more happier you become, and you attract people who are like you. You might not have known that Jimmy over there actually liked the same thing as you because you never expressed that you actually like XYZ, right? I never expressed that, for example, I wanted to start a business, but now I have all these people coming to me like, oh, I didn't know you want to start a business, and we start talking, we start making friends, we start developing connections. And then, as sad as it sounds, like the people in the past who are not like-minded like me, people who don't want to start businesses, we're still in touch, we're still in friends, but we're not as close as we are. And it's okay to leave some people behind because they're not on the same path as you. You have to understand that you can't bring everyone along with you, right? You can't bring everyone along with you because they have their own destination to go. They need to do what they need to do. And that's just reality, honestly.
Yeah, it's a great point. You can't bring everybody along with you. I just wanted to make another point to referencing your sales job. But like for me personally, all those past jobs I've had, whether it's like actual work, like 9 to 5 sort of says, and then past business ventures, each one that I've worked or I failed in the past business ventures, it's helped shape who I am today. I failed, like many of you, I assume, tried drop shipping. I've done print on demand, I've done SSMA, and I've done online marketing, I've done copywriting, and now I'm currently freelancing. But even the aspects of all those past job opportunities that I failed, the business ventures that I failed, you learn something more about yourself. Like it keeps igniting that hunger where no matter how many times you fail each business venture, you're just like, I'm gonna do something else because there's nothing else limiting me. Like realistically, I'm gonna fail like 5 more, but it's like all you have to do is make it once. You make it once, you get successful at once, and now you have that fundamental skill which no one can take away from you. And then all of a sudden, people want to start being like, "How did you do it? It seems like it was success overnight." But no, they don't see the past struggles. They don't see the amount of times where you're just, all right, check that one, didn't do well. Nope. All right. I guess I have nothing else to lose. And that's the thing too, with all these business ventures you try, you realistically have nothing to lose. It just depends, like you said, you may have something to lose, like depending on your financial situation, maybe you don't have time, you're living with people that are constantly nagging you down or naysayers, but it's like it still comes down to it's on you. No one else is gonna make the decision for you. It comes down to you taking accountability and initiative.
Bringing back your point on surrounding yourself with like-minded people, it's also your environment too. You can't be in an environment where it's unmotivating to be who you are. You can't be in an environment where no one is encouraging you as well, because then it's just you versus everyone else. Why are you making your life harder by fighting against other people? Why are you making yourself harder for being in the wrong group? Right? It's okay to be in the wrong group, but you have to figure that out that you have to identify that you are not where you're supposed to be. Maybe it's over there, maybe it's over here, maybe it's over there, but you have to understand that people will always come and go, and you just have to weed whoever do you think is good in your life or will not be good in your life.
Yeah, and I understand because unfortunately it's not always the case where you can just be like, I can take up my stuff and I can just move to a different environment where everybody is surrounding me, everybody is positive. You may be in a toxic environment where everybody within your home, within your immediate friend group is like, why are you doing this stuff? This is lame, stop doing this. They may tell you, like, it does not matter. You're gonna be faced with some instances, it's real life, you're gonna be faced with some instances where you're gonna constantly have negative pressure. That's where the mental fortitude kicks in. That's where the actual reinforcement, like how badly do you want this, where you're able to, 1, disprove them wrong, and 2, be able to acknowledge that like, yo, these people are trying to put me down, but it doesn't matter. I have a drive that's so much bigger than what they believe in that it doesn't matter how many times they put me down, I'm still not gonna fail. Like your belief has to be stronger than their opinion of you.
Honestly, how I like to view or go through life is entrepreneurship, business venture. That's the type of life I want. I'm sure that's the type of life you want as well. Yeah. We know stepping forward, it's not gonna be easy, 100%. We tried this, we tried that, we failed, we spent time, we spent money, we spent effort, sleepless nights, late night grinding, going places, traveling. This journey is not easy. Understand that you will have to work harder than most 9 to 5 regular people with the uncertainty that everything will work out in the end.
Literally.
Right? Stability, most people don't choose most people like to stay comfortable. I'm not shaming any 9 to 5 person, or I'm not shaming anyone who likes to live like a very comfortable lifestyle. If that's what you like, that's what you like, right?
Amen.
Right? But for me personally, the type of life I want is something way beyond that, way greater than that. But it's also, I don't know if I'm gonna achieve it. I believe I can achieve it. I just don't know when. I just don't know how. And I just don't know when my time will be. But I do know that I will make it eventually. But I have to endure the hardships. I have to accept the reality on what's being thrown to me. And every hardship, every hurdle, every struggle, every mountain is a learning lesson, right? I could be 40 and I could still be dead broke. But at the end of the day, do I regret the last 20, 30, 15 years of my life? No, because I had that opportunity, I had that chance to be greater than who I would have been if I worked that 9 to 5, if I stayed comfortable being who I was, right? All it takes is just 1 year. Honestly, all it just takes is 1 year and you can change your life completely. People will laugh at you now, people will judge you, people will look down on you, you might feel like you're even being left behind. But all it takes is just 1 year, one snap of a finger, and they look at you, and boom, the growth is exponential. It's a compound.
It's a compound effect too. Like you said, it's somewhat definitive in your pursuit, because the amount of struggle that you go through, like I said before, you're going to struggle and you're going to be alone. But at the same time, during that struggle, you find the beauty in the process, where you're either alone or you found people who have similar interests with you, and then you're collectively working together or working by yourself towards a common goal. Like the beauty in the process, that's why it's like you can't focus so much on the end result. Obviously you want to be successful and that's like the ideal goal, but it's like once you actually acknowledge and fall in love with the process, you learn so much more. You start learning more about yourself, learning more about what type of skill you're developing, and learning how to manage yourself and manage other people. Because eventually when you're at the top, you're gonna have to learn how to manage a team, have people under you, as well as be able to communicate in a way where you're still effective as a leader and you're able to convey your points where they understand if you're bringing on newcomers, for example.
A point I was gonna bring up. I lost it, but give me a second.
No worries, no worries.
I got it, okay. Where you are right now, whether that's at the top, maybe you are successful, whether you're at rock bottom, whether you're in the middle, whether you're just taking that 2 steps forward from rock bottom, wherever you are right now, always remember the journey. Always remember this moment, because you'll never get it back, right? I'm not where I want to be right now, but I know once I get there, I'm gonna look back at this moment and realize, hey, doing this video, sitting down with Henry over here, that was fun. That was a great time, because being present, being in the moment, sure, you might grind 20, 30, 40 years, but do you really want to achieve success without remembering the process? Do you want to teleport to when you're 40? Do you want to teleport to when you're retiring and not remember the majority of your life? Because that's the reality for some. Some people go to work, some people graduate, finish college, finish uni, go to work, go to 9 to 5, work 20, 30, 40 years. And if you were to ask them, what's new? Or if you were to ask them, hey, how's it going on in life? It's so, what's the word? Small, limited?
It's so, like they have a mundane sort of ideology where it's just like, oh, everything is the same, everything's fine. Like to them that 50, 20 years is just a blur of all the same thing, because it's almost, it's like they're stuck in the routine where it's a routine that they hate. So it's literally to them the cliche, same thing, different day. They're going to work from, let's say, Monday to Friday, and then on weekends they have the 2 days off where they're dreading going back to work. And then, trust me, I experienced that too. I used to work at Chrysler, working Monday to Saturday, 6 days a week, and praying, bro, my Sunday is my only day I have off, bro. And I'm looking at God and being like, please, I know, I gotta go to church, but I'm tired this day. But there's some things you have to do regardless. Like I said, even before, there's some things you're gonna have to do even when you're tired, you don't feel like doing. You still gotta stick to those obligations. But like I was saying before, you have that job Monday to Saturday, it was dreadful, and I hated every moment of it too. But at the same time, I was still working. I wasn't necessarily just trying to hold myself at a weak rate where people are feeling sorry for me. Like, even though I was working like more than 40 hours a week, I was still doing stuff to pursue my side hustle. Like, because I knew, I'm like, bro, this is not it for me, but at the same time, it also kept me sharp. Because if you're just doing your typical 9 to 5 to how are you going to stimulate yourself where you're able to stay on top of things too? Like you only have school up until a certain point where it keeps you testing your new knowledge, testing your ways to think critically, testing your ways of actually understanding. Depending on your job, you may have that option, but it's like if you just have a typical 9 to 5, like almost a automated job in the sense where like you basically done it so much to the point where it's like second nature, you don't even have to think. Where are you going to get the extra point to actually think if you don't do it and apply it to a certain skill or a new side hustle?
You also don't want to be stagnant. You always want to keep growing. You always want to keep progressing. You working at Chrysler? I did a full-time sales job. Interesting. I never thought I could do full-time, but here I am worked full-time sales job. Sales job. You're not 9 to 5. You're commission only. And honestly, you're kind of 24/7 whenever you're not sleeping. Because you got to grind. You got to make money. You got to do all these calls, off hours, etc., etc. Let me tell you, on those days where I would have to work Monday to Friday, and I looked forward to the weekend, that is dreadful. That is dreadful. At least to me, you can enjoy your weekends. You can look forward to the weekends. I'm just saying, this is my personal opinion. When I was working that type of lifestyle, when I was working that sales job, looking forward to the Friday, or looking forward to the Saturday and Sundays only, and then when Sunday came around, dreaded hating the Mondays, so I only actually had Saturday to really have a peace of mind. That was not the life for me. I knew that feeling like that, I got stuck. Feeling like that, I put myself in a position to be more negative, be more, uncreative, right? Because now I don't have enough time for myself. Why am I focusing all my time on this job? Why am I focusing all this time on building someone else's career when I wouldn't even give myself 6 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours in a day to focus on my mental health, have a clear vision of where I'm going, read, learn, and just honestly just like grow and be content with yourself, right? We spend so much time working at a job, working for someone else. And yes, there's periods where you do have to work, you do have to grind, you do have to put in the hours to make money for your family, for yourself. But I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that if you want to pursue something more in life, you have to also work outside those hours and work on yourself. Because a lot of people, once they're tired, once they're drained from their 9 to 5, that was me. All I wanted to do, sit down, relax, go play some volleyball, watch some shows, watch some YouTube, and just not think. Because I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Granted, yeah.
Right? And I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to keep feeling that for the rest of my month, year, 30, 40 years. That's just not the type of life I want. I'd rather go through the ups, the treacherous downs, and the highest of highs, right? Remembering all those moments rather than just a flat line, mundane lifestyle.
Yeah, that mundane lifestyle, like I said, it's not for me, and like you alluded to before, it's not for you. But it's like, you're not gonna have a abundance of time. Granted, you're working the 9 to 5, so you're not gonna have much time to work with. But it's like, the finite time you do have, you have to be open to learning something. Even if it's once a week, that's still better than you just going back to whatever joy, pleasure that you use to numb your brain once in a while, whether it's TikTok, whether it's sports, whether it's hanging out with children, whether your kids, your friends, whatever the case may be. You still just have to put in, as long as you do at least once a week, you're making progress. And then as you're able to scale up the side hustle, scale up the business, scale up the new skill that you want to learn, then you're able to spend and try and find more time to be able to advance that aspect. Because like for me, when I was working at Chrysler 6 days a week, I still literally, how Chrysler worked, it shifted every 2 weeks. 2 weeks you're on morning, 2 weeks you're on afternoon. When I was on morning, I had time. I was up at 4:30, got to work 6 to 2:30, I'm at work. After 2:30, straight to the gym, literally just to be able to get my mind right and get myself physically acclimated. Come home, shower, eat, and then it's back to the grind to learn my skill. When it's in afternoons, it was much different because it was a 3 to 11 shift, but same thing. In the morning, got up at 9, gym at 10, 10 to 12, I'm at the gym, come home, shower. Even though I only had an hour to get ready between 1 to 2:30 to go to work, bro, I was doing as much as I can to learn while also packing my lunch and stuff just to be able to get ready to go to work. Like, I'm telling you, like, you will have to find time in the most obscure time slots just to be able to make it work and just to be able to dedicate yourself to the grind. It's not easy, but you will find a way if you're genuinely that committed.
Everyone's journey will look different. You know, some people might want different things, obviously.
Yeah, I'm insane, so like,
My work ethic is not as crazy as Henry's, but your journey definitely doesn't have to look like someone else's journey. Your journey can be whatever you want, on your own pace, on your own speed, on your own timeline, but you always have to be progressing. You always have to be moving towards something. You can't just stay stagnant in life. If you're content with your life, that's great. Good for you, right? I'm happy. I wish I could be like you. But to me, I always want to strive for something more. I guess that's just human nature of greed. But knowing where I want to go, knowing where my destination, I always want to do more, keep pushing, keep growing, you know, not stay stagnant. Because at the end of the day, when I look back, I don't want to regret not taking that risk, regret not taking that action of trying to become who I was, who I desire to be. I don't want to regret looking back when I'm 65, telling my grandchildren, oh, sorry, we're here in this position because I played it safe. Or we're in this position because I took that risk and I made it happen for you guys. Which heart do you want to choose? Do you want to choose the heart of telling your kids that you played it safe? Or do you want to choose the heart of you grinding your years, your efforts, your time, whether you're 20, 30, 15, 60. It's never too late to make a change. Like I said, it just takes 1 year to change your life. But choosing your heart, which one you want to choose? Do you want to choose the heart of staying the same every single day? Because that is hard. That in itself is hard. Or do you want to choose the heart of actually taking that risk to become who you want to be? Right? Even if you, at the end, you don't achieve that level of who you desire or that level of success that you want, at least you took that risk. At least you know at the back of your mind, you have no regret because you laid it all out. You took that risk. You took that action to go after your dreams and goals. Does that make sense?
That's a good point. I realistically, me personally, I think it's harder to actually be inactive than taking action. Like at that point, you're numb if you're not taking any action and you're content with your lifestyle. Not even knocking the 9 to 5, just in the sense where you don't feel like you don't have to grow in any sense. You don't have to learn anything new. Like that inactivity, I feel like is much harder to do than taking action at least once. Because then when you take action at least once to learn something that's you think you couldn't do, you start challenging and questioning like, yo, if I can do that, I can do anything. No matter what, because then your mindset shifts. Where like, yo, I didn't think I had time to do this, but I was able to manage to do it. And you're like, wait, if I had time to do that, now I can manage my way to learn and do something else. Like, it's a fundamental aspect of a mindset shift and going back to the core sense. If you don't think you can do it, you're right, you can't. But if you genuinely believe you can, you can. Trust me.
You know what's scary? I think I was talking to one of my buddies, 2021, 2022, COVID time period, whatever. And I forgot what we were talking about specifically, but we were talking about, I think, entrepreneurship, or I was speaking to my friend about the 9 to 5 life. And I remember I came to a realization, up to a certain point, I've seen some people who all they do is just work 24/7, and that's their whole life. That's their whole life. And realistically, if I were to ask them, as sad as it may seem, some people will actually be like, if I didn't have my job, I wouldn't have purpose in life. Because some people's whole purpose is just to work that job, to make that money, rinse and repeat. You are on autopilot. You are not in control of your life at that point. You're just doing to do things, right? And as sad as that sounds, even ask some people, it's like if you were to really think, if you were to be laid off today, if you were to get fired, if you were to quit your job, would you have purpose in your life? That was deep.
That was a deep perspective.
That was deep. One more thing.
Yeah.
And there has to be a study, or there has to be like some case, but I feel like a lot of people who get laid off, or for example, who don't have a higher sense of purpose rather than just to work, as sad as it sounds, I feel like they just rot away. Or I feel like some even are no longer with us because
Unfortunately, yeah.
they don't, work was their whole life. That's all they did for their whole life, that's all they knew. And that became their purpose, quote unquote purpose in a sense.
It's unfortunate because, like you said, people slowly deteriorate. But you have to understand, like you mentioned before, you have a purpose. God has a purpose for you. You guys may not realize it. You guys may think your purpose is currently where you are, but I'm telling you, God has a bigger plan for you guys that you don't even realize, to uplift the kingdom of heaven. But even for your understanding, even if it's not business, forget all that. Just the fact that you have a purpose, and to be able to understand that, like I said before, when you have people nagging you on, being detrimental to your mindset and your outlook, who cares what they think? Your purpose is far greater than what they think is even possible. And even then, you can't knock other people for their purpose too, because you may think, yeah, your purpose is interfering with someone else's. Brothers, you guys can both eat. Friends, you guys can both eat. Like, someone's purpose does not have to interfere with your own, and vice versa. What their path and trajectory is on, it may not intersect with yours, but you can still respect it, acknowledge it, and have a common ground where, like, I can see that person working towards their goals, and and literally it's like, I respect that. But it's like, you don't have to think because they're going on a similar or opposite trajectory from you, you're just like, oh, now you look at it as competition. You can look at it as friendly competition to help motivate you, but not necessarily as competition where you're like, I gotta do something to try and stop them and prevent them from growing. Like, you can't be a hater too, it doesn't work like that.
It's human nature to it's human nature to always compare ourselves, right? But if we compare ourselves to other people, then it just becomes a dreaded race. It just becomes, oh, I have one leg over you. Oh, this person has one leg over me. So I'm only motivated when I'm behind. And I lived majority of my life like that, Asian, growing up as an Asian kid, comparison, family, friends, mainly family, but always getting the feeling that I'm not enough, so I have to do more so I can be better. But also understanding that in my life, once I've overcame this comparison barrier, that you can't stay stagnant on being at the top. You always want to grow. You can't, your goal is not to be better than the other person. Your goal is to be better than who you were yesterday. It's not a race against them, it's a race against yourself, honestly.
And then once you're at the top, realistically, that isn't the end goal, being at the top. You should be continuing to strive to become a better person for yourself, as well as to continue to learn more. The everlasting journey for life and your purpose is to continue gaining as much knowledge and wisdom as possible. Me, I believe that comes from God, but even then, for you guys that are non-believers or believe in a different religion, you can continue pursuing and understanding that you have an infinite world of knowledge to gain. With the rapid advancements of technology, social media, AI, you have information at your disposal. So it's like, realistically, there's no excuse. The only thing is, I will not fault you guys, because I've been guilty of it myself. When you're faced with analysis paralysis, where you're faced with so much options where you don't know what to pick. Trust me, it was the same thing when I was going through certain business ventures. You're like, oh, I know that this seems easy, I can do this, or this doesn't seem easy, but I know based on my previous understanding, I can do this. And then you start like 5 or 6 different side hustles, then you don't commit to any of them because you think you could micromanage all of them, and then you encounter one obstacle and then you just give up. Like, it's very hard. I'm even saying this for myself, and understand it's very hard to stick to one thing and continue pushing through no matter how many times you fail. It's a hard thing, trust me.
Just take it one step at a time. Just take it one step at a time. By taking that first step, at least now you have clarity. You have a direction on where you're going, right? By analyzing or charting down your ideal path on where you want to go, the reality of life is that life will always throw you curveballs. The direction you think you're headed, that clear path that you have, your view for yourself, you will deviate from that so hard. But at the end of the day, you know you'll reach your destination, but it won't look like the journey that you set foot on, right? So it's understanding that although you have a bunch of things in front of you, you know, you have the internet, you have the social media, you have other people's opinions. Taking that first step on what you actually want to do, you know, taking that first step so now you know what the next step is. You know, when you climb a staircase, you take it one step at a time. You don't just jump to the top. You're not an elevator. You don't rise all the way to floor 40, right? You take it one step at a time. It's a progression. It's building the stepping stones, laying it brick by brick to build that strong foundation and to build ultimately who you are. And one thing, who cares about other people's opinions? If you fail, so what? Just know that you're trying and other people most likely aren't trying, right? So who cares if you fail? Who cares if you look like a fool? At the end of the day, it's your life. Whether you choose to acknowledge those limitations, those barriers, those opinions of others, they're only real if you acknowledge them, right? They're only real if you acknowledge them.
I had two things, maybe a third if I can remember after saying the two things, but it's like, how are you gonna knock someone for trying? Trying. When you're trying something, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, which is hard in itself. When you're trying to do something, trying to learn something, you're making an effort. And that's a big thing, making an effort. And those people that are nagging you or naysaying, they're making an effort in the opposite direction to push you down. They're not making any physical effort to try something that expands their way of thinking, allows them to grow. But you taking initiative and whatever thing you're doing, I'm proud of you, genuinely. Pat yourself on the back. You guys are doing a great job for actually trying to do something, trying to better yourself, trying to understand whatever case and facet you're trying to excel in. And then a point you mentioned before along the journey, you going through the journey, you don't want to just skip through everything and go straight to the top. Where's the beauty in it? You may be content with being like, oh no, actually I do want to go straight to the top. But then, like I said before, you don't actually enjoy the process. You don't actually see what you learned along the way and be able to explain that to other people. If you're just at the top, you have the wealth, you have the fame, you have the status. Realistically, that's not all you need compared to God. But if you have all that, you don't actually have the substance in between. You just have what you see on the outside, but on the inside, there's no substance to actually validate.
You're not grateful.
Hold on, one more thing, just because I remember the third point. I didn't forget it, fortunately. I also wanted to acknowledge that, if you're going and along the path that you have set out, it may not actually be where you end up, unfortunately. It could lead to something far greater. Let's say you have a path where it's snakes and ladders, you roll a 6, you're like, I got the ladder, I'm going up, I get to 77, you roll a 3 and it rolls you back down, you're like, damn, that's not how I was supposed to go. I thought I was just gonna go straight, I thought I was only gonna go up. From that 77, I thought I was only go straight to the 100. But I went back down. Like you said, there's gonna be unexpected turns, and then even if there's an ideal destination that you had set out and you end up somewhere where it's not what you had planned and envisioned, but it's something greater, that's even better. But most people don't understand. They're so hell-bent on being like, I have to get to this, I have to get to this, I have to get to this. But it's like you have to have, even though it's your dream, you have to have a little bit of wiggle room where there's gonna be some pushback where you're not gonna be able to get exactly where you are and get to where you want.
What was your first point again?
Where I said was it the loneliness? No, it wasn't the loneliness. Bear with me, guys. How about after those 3 points, I might be tired. Like,
you think about it. So, but like I said, like what you said, being at the top, but you don't have the inner feeling, the inner beauty of what you acquired. It's achieving one. I'll give a good analogy. So imagine you wanted something. Imagine you wanted, for example, this hat, or for example, you wanted a PS5, right? 2 people, one person received it as a gift. They didn't work for it. They just got handed to it. It just appeared. They asked, they received. Versus the other person who worked their job, spent those hours, spent that time, spent that money to actually get that PS5. Who do you think will treat it with more respect, and who do you think will actually value it more? Is it the person who just received it or the person who actually worked towards it, right? And you see a lot of people, for example, if you buy them gifts, if you buy them this and that, you as the gift giver might really value what you're giving to them. So you expect it to be taken care of, to be treated nicely. But in reality, sometimes it's since you gave them something that you valued, but they just received and they didn't work towards it, they'll just toss it around. They'll just leave it on the ground, let it get dusty, let it get dirty, not take care of it, only play the PS5 here and there.
Yeah.
And honestly, they just have no care, they just have no value, they just have no respect for what they received because they didn't work towards it, right? It can go anything to receiving gifts, it can go to anything about attaining wealth, it can go anything about even working a job, right? Imagine someone just got promoted to a manager, but they didn't do anything. They would just think, oh, okay, they're thankful. Like, thank God I got to this position. I feel lucky. Versus someone who worked their way all the way up to become that manager. Now they feel like they earned it. Now they feel like, hey, this is me. They built that skill set to become this person. Versus that first person who just got the manager role, for example, with no prior experience. They feel a type of sometimes imposter syndrome. Feel like feel like they aren't worth it, feel like they are not worthy. They shouldn't deserve it. Do you remember your first point?
I unfortunately don't, but I just wanted to segue off what you just mentioned before. Like when you work your way up and you have that understanding of, I got to this point and I learned stuff along the way, when you actually have everything and it's just handed to you and you feel like you don't learn from it or you don't actually have an understanding of how to, manage from that position, you tend to fail more times than not. If you look at lottery winners, they're still used to having that same lifestyle and having that same spending habits when they're in their 9 to 5. So then when they get that huge lump sum of money, they just go to an extreme. No steady progression, no understanding of how to manage their finances, get an accountant, whatever the case may be, get a lawyer. They just go straight to spending and giving it away. So it's like you getting that large lump sum of money, to some people may be your end goal, but it's like if you don't actually have the knowledge and the understanding to be able to work your way up while you're able to make that money, while you develop the understanding of how to manage it, while you understand the process of what it took to actually get to that point where you're able to make X amount of money, then it's more satisfying and you're more knowledgeable and be able to cater it in a way where you're actually able to understand it and do much better and prevent yourself from failing.
Got no words for that.
Thank you. I think it's a good point to end off here. Appreciate the time for you guys. If you guys want to check out my channels, Henry Hustles, down below. But I thank Vincent. He's been a great friend, fellow entrepreneur, and he's been excelling and giving you guys great content. Look forward to seeing more content in his video.
Thank you, Henry.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna do the zoom back.
The zoom out?
back.
I should have.